welcome to Teach International. I'm your host, Ruth Kerubo. In case you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for the love. I don't take it for granted. There's been a lot that has been trending concerning boarding schools, and I thought I should share my thoughts. First, there was someone who had shared with Lane. I think it was Victoria or something. Yeah, so she was saying that for her, that boarding schools was a means of decolonizing the mind. And reading through the comments, I realized we have two schools of thought. There are those who are pessimists, there are those who were optimists. Some saw boarding schools as good idea. Some saw it as a bad idea, and they don't want to replicate the same thing for their generation. They don't ever dream of taking their children there. I went ahead to research, even among those who say they will not take their children to boarding schools for maybe due to the trauma, yeah, which is really valid. You find along the way they got bound by some circumstances. Let's say you're a single parent and you have to go to work and you're not able to manage, so you have to send the child to boarding school even when you don't like it. Sometimes you could not want, but they insist they want to go. So what is the difference? First of all, I want to acknowledge the author of boarding school syndrome, and she talks about four elements of boarding school syndrome, and she says it's ABCD. So we have A, which is abandonment. Technically, when you take the child to a boarding school, you are abandoning them from the basic unit of the family, of the society, which is a family. You understand? I remember my first day at school, boarding school. We had an accident while going there because, we were two boarders. Yeah, we had bought two boarders. Me and my sister plus our box. We had one box. Tumetoka mbali. Okay, so the other box was carrying my brothers, my mom, and some goodies. So it happened that my mother's border, okay, it's a motorbike. Yeah, it fell. An injury. Yeah. Like I should go home and nurse her, being an empathetic person. So that's what happened. And the reason I went to school, it's not to a boarding school, actually at class 7, it's not because I wanted. It's because I saw my sister insisting she wanted to go. And I was like, mimi nibaki peke yangu nyumbani. I love my sister. In as much as there was that sibling rivalry, I couldn't imagine my life without her around. So, yeah, that's what happened. So we have that abandonment. Umefika shule, then you're just left on your own. At least I had her as a support system and she had me as a support system. But truth be told, we were just in our own world. The second thing is about bereavement. You keep mourning, the absence of the people whom you love. I used to miss home. Homesick. Nostalgia, you even crave for the food at home. So what happened at that class 7, 2011? The first month we were being given millet porridge, uji wa wimbi. That's what I was used to. And on Sundays there was rice and beans, which used to be my then favorite. So a month later, they started giving us maize porridge. I had never taken that thing in my life. Even when it used to be cooked at our home, I used to be so choosy. I never drank. But just staying hungry for 2 days, a whole week, and you're like, no, man, I had to start eating. So that's how I learned to take uji wa mahindi. And sukari inakuwa kwa mbali, so sometimes you had even to put salt. But that's how it was. But the good thing about now for us, as much as there was that homesick, was the fact that I will look at some of my homies like Abigail Staisi, we had another one, Joy, Mogaka. So they will make us literally feel at home, then just realizing there are some who have joined at that time. So we'll form a group and it should be a nice thing. So the third element of boarding school is captivity. So you feel like you are detained. Even in terms of the food that is given there, like in primary we used to eat. Okay, as much as you are assured of at least 3 square meals, there is a possibility that it is not enough as much as it's there, or it's not what you wish. You know, when we are talking about food security, we usually say it must be safe, it must be affordable, it must be meeting the nutrition needs, all those things. But you find that at school, children maybe have to take ugali with bean soup, ugali with skuma, boiled skuma wiki. Haina nyanya, haina kitunguu, hata mafuta hakuna, just boiled. And it was a favorite by then. But looking back, I don't think I would take those things. So that is what would lead some people to even be leaking Colgate, glycerin, lotion. I'm telling you, hakuna njaa mbaya kama ya your boarding school. So that's what happens there. But not all schools. Some, you know, you are allowed to carry snacks. So it's nice. You don't feel it that bad. But again, how does it feel like more of a detention camp? There are parents who use boarding school as a means of punishing a child. So what they do, they'll be like, you even see them on social media, they're like, someone to give me a school which is so strict. And you're like, huh? What? I thought you were looking for a school that can accommodate your child, which is loving, you know. They're like, I must teach this child something. So that's how somehow it looks like a detention, because to some there was no even television, there's no entertainment, you're just confined in a place. Actually, prison, like after the prison reforms, you find that prisons are far much better than some of the boarding schools. And that's why I don't blame some of the children when they decide to ban schools. Yeah, I know it's unfortunate, but when you try to look and the root cause, some are complaining about maybe entertainment is not there, the food is not what they want, and they decide to strike. They're not hard. You're just there. Some don't even give them an audience to express themselves beyond academics. You find every time reading, do you think people who are in alliance are sleeping the way you're sleeping? Such kind of things, and you put children under a lot of torture and pressure. And I'm saying this with a lot of compassion, even as a teacher. As much as we want the grades, you know, we overdo. Yeah. So another way it can feel like a cage is because, or especially where you find it's a single school, the children are not, or the learners, because it could even include the preteens, they are not accessing or rather getting to interact with people of the other opposite sex. That's why they find they have crushes. Maybe the TPs that come, let's say for our experience high school, being a girls' school, you know, you'll see the men and you're like, wow, just a normal process happening. And you find for children, let's say they were introduced to a girls' school at an early age, they tend to not to have much interaction with the girls because they got bored with them, or they have very, and we say weird, perspective about men generally. It becomes hard even for them to cope, live with men, even at the workplace, because you are used to that independency. How do you even just sit and someone to open for you a door, sit, they push for you? So yeah, that's part of the captivity. Sometimes it was the punishment. In as much as yes, could be even punished at home, you find at school there is the excessive punishments, especially in schools where the prefects have a lot of authority. I remember my uncle telling me, like, during that time, okay, it was just a discussion while he was driving, and he was saying that because boys by then used to be more of a military school, and if they wanted to elevate its status, then even to a national school, that was the time. No children have to wake up there. So, yeah, sometimes there was even the bullying. So that is the detention. The fourth element is dissociation. We are emotional beings, but you find when you're in a boarding schools, your parent is not there because the family is the basic unit of a society where that love will be given. But when you're at school, everyone is like, we are here, so we are here to learn, we are here to do ABCD. So you don't get to even express yourself. You get alienated from your family and the loved ones generally. That's why for some people like me, I can be even told that so and so died, a person so close to me, and I will not even shed a tear. I'm like, okay, fine, it has happened, so what do I do about it? Because you even try to look at the time you interacted with them, you're like, it's not that significant. You try to remember the memories that are not vivid, they're not clear. Yeah, so that happens. So that are the four elements of boarding school syndrome. I've talked about abandonment, I've talked about bereavement, I've talked about captivity, and I've also talked about dissociation. So before I go to the cons of boarding school and giving my personal experience how it was, I want to give the cons. The pros, sorry. So there are good things about boarding school. One, you're assured of a meal, especially if you come from a home where maybe it's struggling and you don't find meals being constant. Here you're assured, so it could be a good thing. Like in high school, we used to take tea marangapi, 6, 10, 4, during supper, that is 6, 4, and some coffee. We used to call it Java, I think it's Java, yeah, because of the coffee shop, Java, yeah. So those are already 5 tea offerings. Then remember there's lunch, yeah. Some it was the first time they're getting actually to eat things like egg curry. You're just even getting to take buttered bread, you know. Yeah, so that is it. So in terms of food, in as much as some, especially in primary school, where you find the children are not okay, they are really growing and some of the nutrients are not really met, the nutritional demands, you find someone contracting scabies. Scabies, SCABIES, is a disease whereby someone develops some sores. It could be especially around the fingers. They could okay, they are red sores sometimes, so they are really painful, especially if you try to cut. So some get to contract that. Some also get diseases like H. pylori because maybe of the hygiene standards which are not met. Yeah. Others, they get anemia because nutrition, especially for ladies who are menstruating and you're not getting enough vegetables, what do you expect? So that happens sometimes because there is no enough water. You find even the body is dehydrated, there's general tiredness and such kind of things. Anyway, at least for food it's assured because at that time the children are just thinking about food. Another thing, you just have enough time to study, especially if at home or some are institutionalized. Let's say they're in a children's home, or they have been left by their guardians. At a boarding school, you have more time to study, and there is more psych because everyone is here to study, like at home where there are some responsibilities, some chores that need to be done. Maybe you need to go and cut napier grass, you need to go and cook, you need to ABCD. Another thing about boarding school is that you get to interact with different people from different cultures, from different backgrounds. Unlike in a house where you're a home where you're just confined and you don't know much about other people, you find in a boarding school, at least you get to interact with different people. Like for me in high school, we got to interact with people even from different nationalities. Yeah, nations. So you'll find maybe a South Sudanese, a Sierra Leone, and it was fun. Even exchanging about food, you get to even know how people are sharing their ideas. It was a perfect experience. You could even be shocked, like that is the chance to even interact with who is who, children of who is who. So somehow you even get cultured. You get to even start behaving like maybe the rich. Unlike, so that poverty mindset starts going, because when you hear stories, someone is like, we stay at Karen, and you want to know where do even the parents get money from, so you get inspired. It was a good thing. Yeah, you get to find maybe some are children of lawyers, so they'll be coming to school even for mentorship. So it was really a great opportunity to be in a boarding school. Another thing, for safety. Today's world is very toxic. You find, like today I read in the news, there's a mom who killed her children. I don't know, people are battling with a lot of mental illnesses and they need to seek mental health. So before it reaches there, maybe people have stress due to work, they are not able to take care of their young ones. It is advisable they go to a boarding school where there will be a safe environment for them to thrive. Another thing is that boarding schools are zones where someone can get to learn about resilience. Like during our time in primary school, we used to go to the river and fetch water, in as much as it was not okay, because sometimes we could literally drink water from a swampy area. Sometimes we bathe in the river. Yes, it has good memories, but I'm imagining the consequences, especially if it has rained. It was not a good thing. So because of the distance, you could find that you could manage kuoga maji na kikombe. That's more than enough. So basically it was like you're doing passport. Yeah, and I remember at some point the class 8s and 7s were being beaten that they are taking water from the young ones, but I was spared because I was so honest. I never wanted to do that. If I wanted water, I would ask my sister who was in class 5. So that is one thing about boarding school. You get to learn about resilience. So another thing you learn is about being independent, how to use your money, because now you are on your own. You learn to be independent. It could be a good thing, it could be a bad idea, but that is what it is. Sometimes it's how people got to even know how to hustle. No, because of that hunger, someone could even go maybe and buy some kangomus. Yeah, it was illegal. Maybe you use the panya roots, or by the time you're going to the river and you bring your kangumus, then you sell at a higher price, so you get profit. So that was one pro about boarding school, that you get to learn about independence, including finance. Like it was the first time I was like being given pocket money, and I knew how to keep it by learning from my sister. Yeah, she could tithe, she could buy things. I was like, oh, so once you're given the money, you're not supposed to spend all of it. I learned it from her. So she even showed me that to keep your money safe, you Okay, you have that sweater, the cardigan, you make a hole, then you put in your notes and they'll be safe. Yeah. So that's one thing you get to learn. Even you get to learn about responsibility because you're on your own. Unlike at home whereby you can ask mom, where is my shoe? Where is my socks? Here you're on your own and you need to take care of your items. Because you can imagine if you lose, for example, your panties, you'll have to walk the whole time like that. Yeah, or use a bloomer. So it's good to take care of your things. That's how you learn. You get even to learn about teamwork because for you to survive in boarding school, you can't act be alone, you know. So you have to learn to be in a team. So essentially, it promotes the teamwork. That's how you even get to appreciate the role of discussion group so that you can learn a concept from two. Uh, yeah. Another thing is that it helps in syllabus coverage. This is from the point of our teacher, you know, because there is now more time, it's easier to cover the syllabus. Yeah, maybe especially in the first term and second term where we have a lot of activities, co-curriculars, you find there's now time to compensate for the lost time. Again, if you're into co-curriculars, you'll find now there's the games time, plus at night you can go and do the practices, and that's how these people get to even be winning. Yeah, another thing, it promotes a reading culture because how else do you spend your life there apart from studying nini nini? So you just get, people are immersed into the avid reading culture, just reading anything. Though it's also a bad thing because you find recently there's been introduction to graphic content like the pesetas. Wow, 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 wow. They have a lot of erotica content. I don't know. Maybe it can mess up with the mind, but for me, I stopped because you find, as much as it's thrilling, along the way, it's not that educative. Yes, your vocabulary will be good, you'll be a well-spoken person, yeah, but it erodes or corrupts your mind in a very big time. Another thing is about order. You learn about spreading the bed, being orderly, because now here you're running with schedules. At certain time you need to be awake. You become a person who is rooted into a certain routine. So, however, you can learn even about order at home. Even from a day school, you don't have to be in a boarding school to learn about order. Because personally, I have a bad story, hey, about spreading of beds. You know, they wanted, so we're using bed covers that are like the Masai shukas. So they had to be streamlined. Now, tell me, a person like me, even as a volleyballer, I have never, um, what, pushed my ball so that it is straight. Never in my history has my mathematical lines, you know, we used to kurul kitabu. There's no day it was ever straight. So tell me how you expect me to ensure it is. A bed has the hospital beds and they're so streamlined. Never. So I used to be called every time to go and redo, but it's memorable anyway. Yeah. Another thing you just learn about, to be disciplined, just to avoid maybe being given suspension. Uh, yeah. You also get to be an all-round person, especially for schools that are sponsored by churches and maybe mosques. You get to be nurtured all around. So there'll be those programs. Like for me, it was where I learned to be confident. Previously, being from an SD background, I even never joined the adventurous pathfinders. But because you are now forced, class 7s have their own choir, class 8, and you have to sing on Saturday. So I joined Mwangaza choir, and that's which was for class 7 by then, and that's how it developed my confidence. So by the time I'm in campus, I was confident enough, and that's why I could even stand and seek votes. So it really played a big role. That's why I can be a teacher and I'm not afraid. I can stand before people. That's how I have gone to mentorship talks, and it has become an avenue, to interact with different people. So in terms of confidence, perfect. Yeah, because now there is more time to interact with each person. Yeah. Another thing, so it's also convenient for the parents, especially if you're so busy, you can take your child there. Maybe you have other children or your place of work is different and you're not able to drop your children. It is okay. It was also convenient for me, so to say, because in a primary school, yeah, I used to be in an academy, Good Mwanda before then. So you're supposed to be in class by 6. Mimi 6 nangoja gari nikuje. The first one has already gone by around 5, so that 5:30 students are sweep class, then they start. So I used to be every day late comers, kerubo. So, and I love sleep. Actually, the moment I could hear my mother's alarm ringing, it's time to wake up. It's 5 o'clock. It's time to wake up. Oh my goodness. I used to hate that alarm. So, at least going to a boarding school, as much as I was waking up, it was around 6 or 5:55. You could even hear some movements and you start preparing yourself. However, there are some days you find you're so sleepy, you could go to class even with the bed sheets. Yeah. Or you go, you shower, you don't go to the bathroom, unaenda hapo Ikegoro. But it was worth the sacrifice. It's what made us. For me, it was a good thing because I added value to what I had from 318 to 385, which got me a slot in a national school. It was a good thing. Yeah. So let's go to the cons. The cons. There are many consequences, but it varies from place to place because there are some which have redefined. For example, where there's a lot of manual work, like I used to hate washing chores, especially the ones which are not flashable. Ama unawekwa to do manual in a room, not in a room, in a corridor where people are passing as they go to the dining hall. People of Moiji. Do you remember that corridor between Mississippi and Chinred? How the day umewekwa huko, you'll feel like crying because you'll be the last person to go to school, to go to the tuition block. You'll find prefects there that you have to run, they write your names, you go do punishments. That was the bad thing. So the other thing is about bullying, but it's not all schools. Some, especially for girls' schools, you tend to have school parents. So you have a school mom, you have a school grandmother. For the first month, they help you to even do the orientation, they wash for you stuff. So bullying is not that much. So another thing is about wetting. So it could be a will actually affect one's self-esteem. However, there are things you can do. Maybe you can, as a parent, avail a Macintosh, more bed sheets so that they can be interchanged, and it will be okay. Just tell this child to wake up early to wash themselves. I've been in that situation, I think, because of for worrying. So literally I had to wake up very early, wash, and people are wondering why are the hanging lines with your bed sheets every day. They think it's because you're clean. Kumbe you're hiding that thing, but it's normal. I know a couple of people who had the same issue, but immediately they left boarding school. They were so superb. Some have made it, yeah. So there's that issue of bedwetting. So another thing you can do is to avoid taking water beyond 4:30. Yeah. then you minimize on snacking, because the more you eat, especially foods that are oily, you'll tend to feel thirsty. Umekula chapo kama tatu kutoka kwa tuck shop, so you'll be feeling thirsty, and that's how you get to drink water, and you find it, you will urinate. Sometimes people overeat, and that's how they will forget themselves. Yeah, so just some, it could be a medical issue, and they need to see a doctor to confirm whether it's true or not. Yeah, so that is another thing. Another thing is about food. So some actually got ulcers because the food is delayed. Kama mimi, some these ulcers developed into further things, but let's not go deeper into that. Another thing, because of that bereavement that I already talked, so some will actually sneak, and it could compromise on your safety in the end. Mlete. So another thing is about introduction to antisocial activities like homosexuality, fighting, even that bullying I talked about, because you find these learners at this time, they also want to explore and they don't have avenues to express that, so they could engage into such malpractices. This is not to support, so they need to be talked to and be given guidance on what exactly to do. So yeah, you'll find cases of gayism, lesbianism, some the so-called softies. You'll find they're using even the test tubes, so they need to be guided. Others that could be introduced to drug and substance abuse. Remember, some come from dysfunctional families, so somehow they will tend to introduce other children to it. Maybe they saw their parents taking, say, alcohol. And in chemistry, you have learned how to make alcohol or by using yeast. So they'll go and start to make, or during reporting day, if you don't do a thorough inspection, some get to sneak in with such stuff. Some can even do things like terrorism. Yeah, we have seen people who even incite strikes, even fires. I don't know whether that's how they have been taught, like for you to express your grievances, you have to use force. Like even at our homes, let's say you don't like a certain way in which things are done. Do you go and burn the kitchen? Then why do we do that? You can strike or demonstrate in a very respectable manner. No, you can even use the suggestion box. You can engage your prefects so that, okay, again, this depends with the management, because if you don't get to listen to the children, they'll develop animosity towards the management, and that's how they engage in such things. Another thing is about how sicknesses are handled. Sometimes you find the boarding section. Okay, I've seen this firsthand in one of the stations I've been. So you find a child could be sick, no, maybe macho. Some could be faking it, some could be real, some it could be homesick. But you find there's that tendency you to suppress the bureaucracy. Like it's a long process, or you have to go to your class teacher to verify that you're sick, to give you a receipt. Then you go to the guidance and counseling, you go to the boarding master, you go to one of the administrators. By the time you're getting that exit, it's a long process, and it will delay your treatment. However, we have good schools out there where they have healthcare units or sanatoriums like ours used to have. Then on Mondays and some days, you could even be taken to escorted by a matron to get specialized care, maybe eye care services, though it is recommended that during the holiday, things like dental, eye care should be dealt with. Yeah, if you have any other issues, like you want a special diet, I think it should be addressed to the administration. Yeah, and that's why you are usually asked to go and bring the medical form. certified by a doctor. But some of you go and fake it. And that's how your child suffers. You find they don't take beans, now they're forced to take beans. Yeah. So in terms of sicknesses, that's what happens. Like I remember in that, was it class 7? Because at night there was irrigation. So irrigation kukojoa hapo nje ya dome. Rhino dome. So because of that, you will find that even the sticks from the trees will fall and they were septic. And that's how I got a wound on my what? My leg. Yeah, it took a while. I had to even take around 3 tetanus jabs for it to dry up. But before then, even to be understood, because now you can't, you're wearing slippers, it's now getting exposed to dust, nini. You can't wear socks. It was hectic. Sometimes you're told, why are you wearing the heels? Because I had to wear kitten heels so that I'm enclosing my feet at the same time leaving space for that healing wound. Yeah, so there was that general harassment. Another thing is about abandonment. Because the child feels like they were left alone, there's a tendency that uh, they no longer care. They're emotionally detached. Yeah. Like I already said earlier on. Another thing, so related to that, is about psychological trauma. Some, like when my maternal grandfather passed on, do you know, it was during the weekend. My mom never came, and I asked, why didn't you come? She was like, I'm okay. How is Babu? She told me she's okay. Then later that evening, I learned from another parent that my grandfather had passed on. I felt betrayed because I was not told. I'm getting this information from a different quarter, even from our DM who came Fena. She never told me. Hey. So I'm just hearing about grandfather. By then, there were two. All my grandfathers were sick. One was complaining that even takes dizzy is not okay. So on the other hand, I was like, my grandpa has that stroke, nini. No, by then it was high blood pressure. Then I was there now just mourning, but I don't know who I'm mourning, whether it's the maternal or paternal grandfather, because when I left home, all of them were not feeling okay. So just like, so my maternal grandfather has passed on, then my mom is no fun, nini. Then came the day we were to be picked. One of my uncles came. Yeah, so he came. I was never told who exactly had passed on. I came home. That's when my dad told me, your mother is not here. Yeah, she's at because your grandfather has passed on. So, hey, and it was an year that I was a candidate. It really affected me because I had dreamt even about that grandpa. I was like, I should have visited him. I felt guilty at some point. Yeah, I never got to mourn him thoroughly, and sometimes I do miss him. I cry, but it's life. So that happens now. Another thing, corner with the boarding schools is hey, the extreme manual work. As much as we want to teach children about work, the dignity of labor, I feel some things were not fair. Okay, they're not age appropriate. I remember we used to be in that primary boarding school. Hey, so they were making some classes. There was also a dome that had to be constructed because the population was increasing after students started performing. Yeah, so it was gaining momentum. Guess who were the main laborers? Students, learners, pupils. So our breaks, one no longer breaks all you ask, you play, no. You go and take your basin. Who unto thee if your basin was not strong? Then you are to carry that what is it called? Gravel, sand, okay, matofali, hey, mpaka iishe. So in as much as there's pride that we are constructing something for ourselves, I don't think it was okay. Yeah, sometimes you'll find we have to leave class to go and fetch firewood. Unabebeshwa kuni kubwa. Okay, fine. Even at home you could carry. Come in. Even at home, yes, you could carry, but at this time, the parent is not even aware that you're doing this kind of work. Mnaenda msituni mbali, mnachukua those kunis, and you're not to talk to anyone, not to buy anything. Wow. If captivity was a thing, that was it. Another thing, there's less creativity because now you are there, it's an enclosed environment, there's no room to really think, you're just there. Maybe the creative ones will be expressed maybe when writing love letters, so the envelopes will be decorated, but generally in terms of creativity there is no such like for us. You'll find because most of the time it's directed towards studies. You're told, education, you're here, the core purpose is academics and academics. So some will literally not engage us in other things. So we didn't even find our talent at an early age. Like, you are good in a certain sport. Yeah, that platform was not there. The drama, you just in your own world. Yeah. Another thing was about the weather. Sometimes it could be so bad. Okay, I don't know how my sister survived in Limoro, but she was saying to have hot water. But for me, I've had worst experiences with cold. You feel like you're freezing, then you're forced to wear uh, school uniform, at all times. Maybe you can just add a warmer and a scarf. And this reminds me, sometimes they could write, maybe you want maroon color. Maroon is a very tricky color because it's just a blend of red and black there. So you find that different shades. So you are bought for your child scarf, and they are wananyanganywa. And the worst bit is maybe even the raincoats. They said navy blue. You find what you bought was actually not navy blue. It's leaning towards black gray there. So it is taken. This literally has to survive the cold, the seasons. Hey, bad. Huh? But there's something we can do about it, right? You just need to be more accommodative in as much as we want uniformity. Uniformity for who, for example? Huh? Aya, umekata that scarf as a teacher. Why are you giving it to your child? Why don't you return to this to the intended person to take it back home when they close schools, instead of putting them in a store? Just they're doing nothing, or then you just give it away to your children. How fair is that? It's not. So even as teachers, we need to look into that. There's also those instances whereby they come with this, how do we call them, Crocs, maybe to compete with fashion. Hey, then you find, I don't know, some people are just sadistic. You just decide to ban them. Okay, fine. If it is it is not worn during the official hours, then it's okay. But if it's worn during the official hours, then that's where the problem should be. But when we decide we're banning them, it's not okay, it's not right. Yeah. So, or if we must do that, we must explain to them why are we banning, why are we wanting uniformity and such kind of things. Um, Another thing about cold water, I think we can improve on that maybe by having hot showers. So though it will mean paying for more or just having boilers, then mtoto anachemsha. Yeah, they can even make some tea for themselves and such kind of things. Okay. I think I've touched much on that. And all I can say is choices have consequences. Yeah, and don't feel guilty for whatever decision you make. A home is supposed to be healthy, supposed to be conducive for these children, but if they don't find it at home or for reasons best known to you and you have no option but the boarding school, don't feel guilty that you have not done the best for your child. Just sometimes it's with good intentions, right? And I believe that's why we keep them there. However, I want to also comment about this trending issue about where the boys were taking tea from a sufuria, then there was the tea urn that had a tap and it was dripping. And so people were like, it's unhygienic. Why should a child be putting cups inside the sufuria, assuming I hadn't washed? The next person is also doing that. How? Imagine if there's a cholera outbreak, typhoid outbreak, hepatitis, and such kind of things. So they'll spread definitely. So I saw some people were like, "This is what you have been passing through, and that's why we are here." I think that is a bit retrogressive kind of thinking. The fact that you faced hardship and struggles doesn't mean that the next generation should be undergoing the same. We need to have a change. We need to be outraged enough to stand for better for our children. Um, yeah. So, for example, why should they fetch tea from that sufuria, which is actually hazardous? It's risky. We can't be saying, oh, we are teaching them about orderliness. Some actually could be epileptic. Yeah, they were orderly along the way, then maybe they fall into that sufuria. It's not okay. So we need to come up and advocate for better systems. So even having the food, maybe have the table system where they have maybe a tray of food, then they serve it. It used to work for us. Instead of wasting time queuing, that table system works. Instead of maybe that tea and fetching from the sufuria, they could have a server serving them, yeah, using a jug. Or alternatively, they could just fetch that tea or strong tea directly from the tea, and then the one that is called spill is the one to go into the sufuria. So yeah, so those who are saying that it is people are hypocritical, no, expenses are not that bad. Some had the best experiences, and we need to honor them as much as possible and advocate for the best. Hi, people. Yeah, I'm seeing people popping and going, popping and going. I don't know whether it's network errors, but I believe you're okay. Yeah, so that was it. Also, let's demand for change, not only for boarding schools, but the general education system, so that it's accommodative and it can get to meet the intended intentions. Even about waking up, I think sometimes we overload our children. You want them to wake up as early as 3, sleep as late as 11. Yeah, these are children who need at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And that's how they end up sleeping during class time. Because if this person had to wake up at that time, maybe 3 or 4, actually 4, it's a bit favorable. Then by the time it's my class, maybe the evening, they're literally sleeping, you know, because the brain is tired. And you just find this system is packed, they don't have free time. So we can advocate for them to have even entertainment, to even release that excessive energy that they have. They get to have time for sports, let them be engaged. should not be academics, spelling. Even your brain gets saturated even as an adult. And remember, even in this age, people have a long concentration span. Yeah, that's why I appreciate for those who have kept me company until this time, because hey, most people just have 5 minutes within their busy schedule to spare to do this. So that also happens in class. We need to be a bit realistic. No, I ever asked one of my station masters, boarding master, why are these children being forced to wake up early? Okay, it was both boarding and day school. What makes the difference between the day scholar and the boarder? So it was in terms of waking up and being late. I got shocked. Because I think at that time maybe Siku they can read on their own. And now it becomes more tricky when you find it's a mixed school, both boys and girls, because now you have to segregate them for safety reasons, so it can be hard to even as okay, it becomes a burden for a teacher to even teach at that time, because they are different. There are those who are day scholars. Maybe if it's just one system, it's okay. Maybe they're of the same gender. It's a bit better. Um, Another thing that we need to advocate for is um, tolerance. Sometimes you could find weak systems come up and they're like, you should not visit such and such a dome ATO because people go and harvest clothes. Kuibiana. But finally, someone gets to the original cloth. Yeah, some are just careless. You'll find those clothes will be lying there, they're on the hang line for long, and finally they're taken to the dustbin. So it's not necessarily that they were harvested. And there are other things you can do, like inspections, random inspections, to discourage the stealing. Yeah, so there's no need for us to come, or don't, if you belong to a certain dorm or house or whatever hostel, don't go to there. So let's be tolerant so that they get even to learn about others. Yeah. Don't know whether there's anything I've left. Another thing is to teach our children life skills, and this includes even about survival and how to escape emergencies. Like in case of a fire outbreak, what do? Not all of you should run to the door. You should look for alternative exits. Sometimes you have to be calm. You have to go while chlorine, because if you're standing, you'll consume in more of that carbon. So, okay, in case maybe there is a terrorism attack, what do? Do you ring the what? The bell, the alarm. So we need to teach them even how to use the fire extinguishers for their own safety while at school. Another thing, we need to improve our guidance and counseling departments so that they're accommodative, so that they can share the experiences, and they should not be validated. Like I saw some people be like, you're born in school, you're exaggerating, but that's not true. Some it's true, they went through boarding school trauma, and they need that support to be better individuals emotionally, physically, and socially, because some of the emotional and psychological issues actually manifest physically. For example, you could be having anxiety, headaches. After some time, you find someone has even a backache because the emotional stuff that they're undergoing through. So we need to have better systems going forward. Also realistic expectation. We should not place a lot of expectations on our children, because we end up putting pressure, and some they end up committing suicide. Yeah, I'm not saying we should do the kamamaka baba thing. Yeah, so we need to be a bit gentle even in our parenting, talk to them, And we need to be asking ourselves, when you throw your child into a school, who takes care of them? You also need to take care of them, because remember, this is a stranger who's taking care of another stranger. So we even need to know, are these teachers motivated? Is that matron motivated? Are they meant to be putting our children into greater risks? And we also need to impart our values to them. Yeah, we talk to them during that time. Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's the principles that will sustain for them. Teach a child in the way they should go, and when they grow up, they'll not depart from it. Okay? Yeah. I think that is it. So, generally, all stakeholders need to be intentional in making progressive developments and changes within our systems. Otherwise, that's my input concerning boarding schools. Feel free to share with me your experiences. How was it? Um, and some of the things we keep saying, oh, toughening children, are actually dehumanizing. Hmm? And we need to rethink about that. So I don't know at this place whether you have got the answer to whether boarding schools are glorified prisons or not. But for them, it was just, for me, it was just in between there. I don't know. I didn't feel it was a prison. Maybe because that there was a place, like in high school, we could be okay. The food was okay. It was okay. You're being washed for the beddings, so it was fun. Uh, oh, how did I forget about the bedbugs experiences in primary? So we also need to look into that. Some of those issues we need, even for those quality assurance officers, they need to be reviewing those safety standards. Yeah. Eh, because I don't understand why sometimes a child has to sleep in a 3 to 4 decker. You find even they are almost close to the roof, especially the final passport. And if it's hot, they feel the heat. If it's cold and now the roof is leaking, they also feel it. The ones who are in the middle, maybe say third and second, you find it's like literally you're going into uh, a coffin. Naingiza tu kama unaingia kwa shelf. It's a dehumanizing thing, so we need to improve on that. Yeah. Also, in terms of privacy, how else can we teach privacy if we don't have open spaces? As much as they can live in common rooms, we can decide who even have cubicles. Yeah. So at the end of the day, let's teach our children about uh, our values, that they need to, okay, they're deserving of a comfortable, good life. They're deserving of everything that is good on this earth. We need to advocate for unity, creativity, or mediocrity, or hardships and struggles. Let's normalizing stupidity and mediocrity. Let's advocate for better. Let's advocate for accountability and transparency. Should you take a child to a school and you don't know even where they sleep? Why should you be denied access unless, okay, for a good reason, some go and do the jujus because of the secrecy? But it's good. You get to know even where a child sleeps. Is it close to what you envision? Is it close to the home environment or better? Yeah. So let's leave it at that. I believe this has been a vital lesson. Until next time, bye. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like this video.